This story is so unbelievable and shocking that I decided to make a video about it. I suspect that many of you have probably already heard about it. If so, you might learn something new. Today's story begins in 1995, the year when 20-year-old Stephen Pladl met 15-year-old Alyssa Garcia online. Initially, they only chatted, but after some time they decided to take their relationship to the next level. Stephen was very eager to visit Alyssa, undeterred by the long distance between them. He lived in New York, while Alyssa's family home was in San Antonio, Texas. This wasn't just a 2-hour drive to visit Alyssa. Stephen had to travel nearly 1,900 miles. After their first meeting, more followed, and the young couple fell in love, but Alyssa's parents were not happy with the relationship. They were uneasy about Stephen, puzzled by the fact that a 20-year-old was willing to travel such a long way to see their daughter. They didn't want their teenage daughter to get involved with him, so Stephen had to find a solution. He quickly persuaded Alyssa to run away from home and live with him. They lived in New York for a while before moving to Henrico, Virginia. Shortly after moving in together, Alyssa became pregnant, and in January 1998, they welcomed their daughter, Denise. Alyssa was happy, but Stephen couldn't bond with the newborn. He never held his daughter, never hugged her. In fact, the baby seemed to annoy him. Stephen was often very nervous, had a volatile temper, and frequently lost control of his emotions. The arrival of the baby only worsened the situation. Denise's crying irritated him so much that he pinched her hard enough to leave bruises. When she cried even more, he would put her in a portable refrigerator to quiet her down. Alyssa knew that the baby had very little oxygen in there and couldn't stay inside for long, but Stephen wouldn't let her take the baby out. Only when he gave permission could she open the refrigerator. Alyssa felt trapped and didn't know what to do. She wanted to leave Stephen, but he constantly threatened her. He warned her that if she ever thought about leaving him, he would take his own life, record it, and make sure she received the footage. Alyssa knew he was capable of anything, having seen him smash objects on the floor and punch holes in walls. She also witnessed Stephen kill a cat that wandered into their garage simply because he didn't like animals. At just 18 years old, when the baby was born, Alyssa struggled to find a way out of the situation. She didn't want her daughter to suffer like this her entire life. Since Stephen didn't have much affection for Denise, Alyssa managed to convince him to give her up for adoption. She knew it was the only solution that would give Denise a chance for a normal life, free from violence. It wasn't an easy decision, but Alyssa had no other choice. When Denise was 8 months old, she was adopted by a couple living in Dover, New York. She was welcomed into the home of Kelly and Anthony Fusco, who changed her name to Katie. Kelly and Anthony were a calm, loving couple and provided Katie with what she never experienced in her birth home: warmth, love, and security. Katie grew up in this home alongside Kelly and Tony's biological daughter and led a normal life. She loved animals and couldn't understand how anyone could kill them just to have them on a plate, which is why she became a vegetarian. Katie also loved to draw and spent every free moment doing so. At first, she copied her mother's drawings, but eventually she started drawing from her imagination. Drawing became her passion, and by the time she was in high school, everyone knew about her talent. Everyone knew she was the girl who created amazing comics, and she planned to pursue a future in this field. After high school, she intended to study computer graphics and advertising. She was determined to make drawing her career. She couldn't imagine a life without expressing her feelings on paper. Katie had meticulously planned her education and was set to start college in August 2016, with plans to become a student 2 years later. But one piece of information completely changed her life. In January 2016, when Katie turned 18, her parents told her something they had kept hidden from her since she joined their family. Kelly and Tony decided that Katie was old enough to learn the truth about her origins. She took the news calmly, but once she found out she wasn't Kelly and Tony's biological daughter, she began wondering who her real parents were. She wanted to meet them and learn more about them. She knew their names and quickly found them on social media. Katie reached out to them, first sending Alyssa a short message. Alyssa didn't recognize her daughter's new last name and had no idea who was messaging her, so she thought it was a joke. It wasn't until Katie sent another message, this time to Stephen, that they began to realize who was trying to contact them. They exchanged messages for a while, and in June, Katie boarded a train and traveled to Virginia to meet her biological parents for the first time. Everyone was delighted with the meeting, and Katie invited Alyssa and Stephen to her high school graduation ceremony. In August, the month Katie was supposed to start college, she told Kelly and Tony that she wanted to move in with her biological parents. They were surprised but respected her decision, believing she was old enough to make her own choices. They had to accept her decision. But what happened with Stephen and Alyssa after they gave their daughter up for adoption? Despite Stephen's mood swings and aggressive outbursts, Alyssa did not leave him. Instead, she married him, and in 2007 they welcomed their second daughter. They thought they were older and more responsible than when Katie was born and felt it was a better time to have children. In 2012 they had another daughter, but their relationship did not improve. By the time Katie moved in with them, they were already separated, sleeping in different bedrooms. Alyssa was tired of bearing all the responsibilities since Stephen never held a stable job, forcing her to work multiple jobs to make ends meet. After moving into the house in Henrico, Katie got along well with everyone, especially with Alyssa and her younger sisters, who adored her. Alyssa was surprised by how much she and Katie had in common, even in their mannerisms. However, Katie spent most of her time with Stephen, who was always home since he didn't work. Alyssa became concerned and decided to tell Katie what had happened 18 years earlier, why she had given her up for adoption. She told Katie about Stephen's behavior after her birth, but to Alyssa's surprise, Katie reacted calmly and continued spending more time with Stephen. Alyssa noticed a change in Stephen since Katie moved in. He started taking care of his appearance, wearing tighter clothes, shaving his beard and growing his hair, looking younger. Alyssa suspected he was trying to impress Katie. What shocked her more was when she found out Stephen was sleeping on the floor of Katie's room, 6 weeks after she moved in. When Alyssa questioned him, Stephen dismissed her, saying their relationship was over, so she shouldn't care. In November, Alyssa decided to move out. There was no point in staying together since they were headed for divorce. The divorce was imminent, and they agreed to share custody of their 2 younger daughters. Katie, who was already an adult, could choose where to live. To Alyssa's surprise, Katie decided to stay with Stephen. Alyssa suspected something strange was developing between them but wasn't sure what. In May 2017, Stephen complained about their 11-year-old daughter's behavior, saying she had become rude. He handed Alyssa the child's diary, and what she read shocked her. The diary revealed that Katie was pregnant, and Stephen was the father. He had even told their younger daughters to call Katie their stepmother instead of their sister. Alyssa was horrified and immediately contacted Stephen, hoping it was just the child's imagination. But Stephen confirmed the relationship and their plans to have a child together. He was under the impression that Alyssa already knew about their relationship and saw nothing wrong with it. Alyssa, however, knew it was wrong and reported it to the police. In Virginia, incest is illegal, as it is in most states except New Jersey and Rhode Island, and they could face up to 10 years in prison. The police questioned Alyssa's daughters, who confirmed that Katie and Stephen slept in the same bed and that Stephen had told them to call Katie their stepmother. He also warned them not to tell anyone. Despite the seriousness of the situation, the police did not arrest Stephen and Katie. They quickly moved to Knightdale, North Carolina, eagerly awaiting Stephen's divorce from Alyssa. When the day finally arrived, they were happier than ever before because it meant they could finally get married. Yes, you heard that right. Katie and Stephen were planning to get married. To make this happen, they had to lie a little on the documents they filled out before the wedding. They didn't admit that they were related, and on July 20th, 2017, they were finally able to become husband and wife. The wedding wasn't grand, it was a small, romantic ceremony by a lake. Katie, who was already heavily pregnant, wore a short black dress. Besides the couple, Katie's adoptive parents and Stephen's mother attended the wedding. Kelly and Tony Fusco knew that what Katie and Stephen were doing was not right, but they treated her as an adult who made her own decisions, and they could only support her. They didn't try to dissuade her, didn't tell the authorities that the wedding shouldn't take place because the newlyweds were father and daughter, and didn't call the police. Instead, they attended the wedding and smiled for a group photo afterward. A few weeks later, on September 1st, Katie and Stephen's son, Bennett, was born. The couple joyfully welcomed him into their family, and wanting to share their happiness with the world, they often posted photos on social media. However, their happiness didn't last long. A few months earlier, Alyssa had reported their illegal relationship to the police, and an investigation was underway. I don't know why it took the police so long, but 8 months after the report, The couple was arrested in January 2018. DNA tests were conducted, which of course confirmed that they were related. While Katie and Stephen were in custody, baby Bennett was placed under the care of his grandmother, Stephen's mother. Both Stephen and Katie were released on bail at the end of February. However, they couldn't return to their home together and were prohibited from contacting each other in any way. No personal contact, no phone calls, emails, or any other form of communication. Stephen was also banned from contacting his ex-wife Alyssa. After being released from custody, Katie moved back in with her adoptive parents in Dover. She didn't contact her husband until she broke the court order in April and called Stephen to tell him they needed to end the relationship. She no longer wanted anything to do with him. The man was very surprised by what Katie said and couldn't imagine them breaking up. A few days later, on April 11th, he called his mother to inform her that he would be picking up his son to take him home. That evening, he planned to talk to Katie via Skype and wanted her to see the baby. Stephen wasn't banned from seeing Bennett, so his mother saw nothing wrong with handing the baby over to him. However, it was only after he left that Stephen called his mother to tell her the truth. He had taken Bennett to go see Katie. But that wasn't true either. However, the woman only realized this the next day when her son called her around 8:45 a.m. What he told her over the phone made her knees buckle, and she had to immediately call 911. After picking up the child from his mother, Stephen didn't head to Dover right away but returned to his home. There, he did what Alyssa feared he would do to little Katie. He ended Bennett's short life. The police didn't reveal how he did it, but the child didn't have any wounds or bruises, and some sources suggest that Bennett was suffocated. As he left the house, he took the gun he had been interested in since he was a teenager. He left the keys under the doormat to make it easier for the police to enter the house later. He then drove toward New York to head to Dover, where Katie lived. He arrived early in the morning and began watching the house where she lived. He knew her routine and knew that twice a week, every Tuesday and Thursday, she and Tony would drive to Waterbury, Connecticut, where his mother lived. The same was true on Thursday, April 12th. Katie got into the car with her adoptive father and they set off. A light blue car driven by Stephen followed right behind them. He followed them the entire way until they reached an intersection where they had to stop at a stop sign. While they were stopped, Stephen pulled up on the right side and stopped his car next to theirs. He grabbed his gun and pulled the trigger. Both Katie and Tony were hit multiple times. The entire incident was witnessed by an off-duty firefighter. And around the same time that Stephen's mother was talking to the 911 operator, the witness called 911 to report the shooting. This witness saw what car the perpetrator was driving, and thanks to the information provided to the police, they knew what vehicle to look for. About 5 miles away, they noticed a parked minivan matching the witness's description. Inside the van, with the engine still running, was Stephen, but he was already dead. He had taken his own life before the police could reach him, using his own gun.
911, address of the emergency.
Yes. My son just called me, and he told me oh my God, North Carolina, he killed his baby, and he's in the house.
Okay, you said that he told you he killed his baby? Okay, ma'am, listen to me. What's your name? Okay, tell me exactly what happened.
He's not home. His wife broke up with him over the phone yesterday, and he told me, she's in New York, and he told me he was on his way. He called me last night and said he's on his way. He's going to bring the baby to her, and then he was coming back. And he just
okay.
He said he killed his wife, he killed her father, and I can't even believe this is happening.
And did this happen in Nightdale?
No, his wife and father are in New York.
Okay, so the incident actually...
he left the baby dead when he left.
Okay, where did he leave the baby?
Okay, he said it was in the...
What's your son's name? What's his last name?
Same as mine.
When did this happen?
He said he left last night. He called me, I forget, maybe about 7 last night, and said he was on his way to New York. He was going to bring to his wife and give it to her, and then he'd be back. And he called me this morning. I just got off the phone just a couple of minutes ago, and he told me to call the police, that I shouldn't go over there.
Okay, so the son is so your son is not there?
No, the house is empty. He said he put a key under the front mat. A key to get into the house under the front mat.
Did he say how he did it, or what he did?
No, and I didn't ask him. I didn't want to know. Oh my God, he's such a wonderful little.
Okay, hold on just a second, okay? Okay.
Hello?
Okay, I'm still here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and get you over to Raleigh Communications, okay? Let me talk first when I call, okay, so I can kind of give them an idea of what was going on, and then I'm going to let you speak with a telecommunicator, okay?
All right.
All right, hold on for me, okay?
Okay.
Are you still with me?
I'm here.
Hey, this is over in Cary. I have a lady wanting to report a possible homicide.
All right.
And she states that she got a call from her son. Was it this morning?
Yes.
This morning, stating that his wife had split up with him, and she was in New York, and that he killed left him upstairs at the residence.
Just a moment, okay?
So I'm still here, okay?
Okay.
Do you know if he's still at home?
No, he's not.
He's not? Okay.
Okay, Raleigh, I'm going to disconnect.
Okay, thank you, Carrie.
Uh-huh.
After receiving the call from Stephen's mother, the police went to the house where Katie and Stephen had once lived. The beige two-story house was empty. They entered using the keys left under the doormat and found Bennett's body in a bedroom closet. Everyone found it hard to believe what had happened, and no one could understand why Bennett had to die. What could this innocent 7-month-old child have done wrong? After the whole incident, Alyssa felt torn. On one hand, she was grieving the loss of her daughter and grandson. On the other hand, she felt relief that she no longer had to look over her shoulder in fear that Stephen might be nearby. She knew she was lucky that the same fate hadn't befallen her and her 2 younger daughters. Thank you for listening to this story. Until next time.